Welcome to another episode of the Shared Voices podcast by the 1042 Project. We are excited today. We got Aaron Groves back with us. He's been on our podcast before. He is out of the Jasper County area, retired Jasper County deputy. He's also the director of Impact Iowa's Heroes, one of the most fruitful organizations in the state of Iowa that is restoring marriages, equipping marriages, saving marriages that a lot of relationships they didn't think that they could save it, but they've been able to come to Impact Iowa's Heroes, get some healing, and to learn how to be a married first responder couple. Aaron,
Yeah.
we go into this career and we think we're just supposed to know how to be the perfect husband, the perfect wife,
Yeah.
especially in a job that's full of trauma. That's hard. So thank you for joining us. You want to give us a little quick bit about you?
Yeah, actually, let's see. I grew up in a law enforcement family. My dad was 30 plus years with Newton Police Department, and it was in my blood. So I decided to join the Jasper County Sheriff's Office and clear back in 2003, and then developed a lung disease from a mold spore exposure, and that took me out of it in 2020. But I met my wife while I was working at the sheriff's office, and we got married in 2007. And yeah, as you said, I think people go into a marriage, in a first responder marriage, assuming that it's going to be like any other quote unquote normal marriage, and that's it couldn't be further from the truth. And so yeah, we made a lot of mistakes along the way, and learned what not to do. And it took us a long time to get to a healthy place in our marriage, but now we get to help others, and it's a blessing to us to be able to pass on what we've learned.
You know, I talk about this a lot, but so many of us, especially men, we think there's like shame in asking for help. But listeners, you have never been a first responder before who's been married, who's been dealing with trauma, and even if you have, the call you had yesterday is the first time you've ever dealt with it. That exact call. There's new things that come along. You are not intended to do this alone. You were never intended to try to figure it out on your own. That leads to death, destruction, and divorce. I can testify to that. But being able to have an organization like yours, Aaron, where you guys are equipping and restoring marriages, and I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you and your wife's marriage wasn't always sunshines and rainbows, and you guys went to Impact Iowa's Heroes to get some help. Is that how it started? And then it impacted your marriages so much that you started to volunteer your time, and now you are the director. Is that correct?
Mostly. Our marriage really got better and took off when we got plugged into a good church. And we started focusing on each other instead of ourselves, as far as how we could best serve one another, because it was all about what I want and what I should get out of the marriage. And our relationship with Christ kind of reverses that, and it's about serving our spouses, serving God, and serving our spouses. And so our marriage was in a pretty good place when we went to Impact Iowa's Heroes, but we have 3 kids, and we heard about this marriage getaway event. It was overnight. They put you up in a hotel room and they give you marriage coaching. And we were like, man, we don't even care if this sucks. Like we get a weekend away from our kids. We have grandparents in town that can watch the kids, and it's just an opportunity for us to get away and focus on each other. And the reality of it is we don't do it enough. Married couples just do not do it enough. And some of that's a priority issue. We prioritize other things above our marriage. And that's out of priority order. And we just get busy too. And we don't put it on the calendar, or we're just not intentional. And so we try to create, Impact Iowa's Heroes tries to create intentional time and space for people to connect in their marriage and to strengthen their marriage, where they really get to just focus on each other. And we don't do that enough.
And a healthy marriage doesn't happen by accident.
Right?
I've never met anybody that said, man, I don't know, we just woke up someday and our marriage has been perfect from day one.
Yeah.
You have to be intentional about it. You have to put time and effort into it. You have to
That's
humble yourself. You have to be willing to learn. You
yeah,
have to be willing to listen.
yeah.
And I know part of what you guys do, besides equipping is restoring, and
Mm.
it comes along with marriage coaching. Can you kinda explain a little bit what Impact Iowa's Heroes mission is for coaching, why you have that, and how can that help a couple that's struggling and kinda caught into this cycle of suck?
Yeah. So the coaching aspect, and there's a difference between coaching and counseling. Counseling is more of digging into your past, finding out why you are the way you are, and we do some of that in coaching. But it's more about, okay, this is where you're at. Where do you want to move forward to? And we will help you move forward. If you want a great marriage, we can help you get there. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean we're going to ask you or suggest to you to do everything that you want to do. But we're going to help you get to a place where your marriage is enjoyable. And God gave us marriage as a gift. And it truly is a blessing to be able to do life together with someone else, with Christ at the center of it. And man, it's so much fun. Like when marriage is done right, it's so much fun. It's so enjoyable. Again, doesn't mean hard times are going to come, but you can work through those hard times. And that's part of what we do too, is we help couples work through conflict in a healthy way. And I don't know about you, Dan, but like uh, what I was shown in marriage, or what my perception was essentially to avoid conflict. And then until it came boiling out in me as anger, that's when it got dealt with. And that's not healthy. And you end up saying things that are hurtful and that you regret, or doing things that are hurtful and that you regret. And so we try to help couples learn tactics or techniques to deal with conflict in a healthy way. So controlled pouring out, so it doesn't come squirting out, as my pastor says. Um, and so yeah, and conflict is the biggest thing. Conflict resolution, and Dr. Gary and Barb Rosberg, who are the founders of our organization, marriage coaches, have been doing it for 50 plus years and are amazing at it and have traveled the world. They talk about this open loop of conflict. Like there is this open loop of conflict when you have an issue with your spouse. Until you close that loop, you won't be able to connect with each other emotionally, physically, or spiritually, uh, like God intended, again, until that loop is closed. And so how do you do that? Well, it's different for everybody, but the main thing is you talk about it and you do it in a healthy way.
Yeah, and the thing is, in marriages, a lot of times, I know for me in my first marriage, there was no talking about it. I was not a confrontation person.
Yep.
I'll get in my car and I'll go drive for 2 hours, and when I get back, I'll keep my mouth shut, and I'll probably make some snooty comments,
Yeah.
enough to hurt, right? Because it seems like, Aaron, when we're struggling, we hurt the ones so closest to us,
Oh yeah.
and and a lot of times we don't mean to, but it comes out, and words matter, and the tongue is the most strongest muscle in the body that
Yep.
can destroy somebody, and not having control over your tongue is it talks about that in the Bible as well. And with coaching, you can learn to not only get out of the conflict loop, but
Yep.
probably not get yourself in the loop to begin with, and to be able to process some of those emotions that you're feeling in a healthy way so they're not coming out, and like mine would be anger.
Hmm.
Um, I would disconnect,
Yeah.
just shut her down, make her feel unloved,
Hmm.
and a lot of times we want people to forgive us, for what we do based on our intentions, not our actions. Although we never give other people that grace, we always just judge them on their actions, even if they didn't mean to. And I hear that a lot with first responders I work with, and I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Um, she won't get over it because I did this, this, and this. Um,
Mhm.
and Aaron, probably 70 to 80% of the first responders our organization works with are having marital issues as well.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of those marriage issues, the common thing I hear is, "We're just roommates. We're
Yeah.
just roommates." Do you deal with that as well? And when you get to the roommate phase, everybody thinks the marriage is over,
Mm,
but it's not.
no.
It's not.
Yeah, I think from personal experience, I didn't share things with my wife. I didn't. Some of it was um, she didn't talk my lingo, right? She didn't talk the cop lingo, so I didn't want to have to explain what was going on in my day. Um, but as soon as and she would ask me like, "How was your day?" It was fine. I would just avoid it, and because I didn't want to deal with it. But then my coworker would call that was on the scene with me, and we would process it together. And that was very hurtful to her. And it wasn't because she wanted gossip; it's because she cared about. She knew something was off. She cared about me,
Yeah.
and the narrative in her head was, he doesn't love me. He doesn't love me because he won't talk to me about these things. And for some people it's protection. They don't want their spouse to have to go through and feel what they felt. For others, for like me, I needed to process with someone else first. Um, but that caused a lot of disconnect in our marriage, and it was because one, I wasn't being open and honest and truthful with her about what happened in my day. And number two, I wasn't even telling her how I needed to process. And um, it was really a lack of communication. I think that's where a lot of marriages get hung up, is there's just a lack of communication and a lack of understanding how each spouse processes. And for me, I'm an internal processor. I like to think about things before I process it. And Dan, you talked about taking off in a car and driving. When it comes to conflict, reverting back to conflict, I'm an avoider. Like
Yeah.
on the job, I was not an avoider. Like, bring it on, right? I had the law behind me. I would win the conflict because I was on the side of the law. But when it came to my spouse and those closest to me, and even those that I love, like I hate conflict, and so I would avoid it with the thought that it would just take care of itself or eventually go away. But it never did. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until my wife finally would get fed up enough where she would force me to sit down, talk about it, and close that loop of conflict. And she's what they call a vacillator. So when conflict arises, like, she wants to talk about it right now. She's getting out every thought in her brain. There
Mm,
is no processing except what's coming out of her mouth.
the dump.
What's that?
She's dumping it all. She wants it
Yeah.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, and I took offense to that early on in our marriage. Like, that was
Mm,
offensive, like, she was attacking me. Well, no, as I learned, like, that's how she processes, and it's not. I gotta put myself in a position or a place, like, don't be offended by it. She's processing just like you have process internally. You need space. She needs to get it out. Otherwise, it's going to tear her up inside, and she won't be able to think about or do anything else until she processes that. And then in the midst of her processing out loud, a lot of times she's like, that doesn't even make sense.
yeah.
Like, but it's her speaking it out. And so I had to come to a place again, we had to learn about each other. We had to learn how each other process. We had to learn how we process conflict effectively. And then if I can sit there and let her process out loud, um, and she can give me the time or space if I need it, because now I've kind of worked through this process of, I'm going to let her process out loud, and then I'm going to share my thoughts and feelings as I process while she's processing. And that loop of conflict gets closed so much faster, and we get understanding of each other's perspective. But it's also about being open and honest and truthful too. And early on in my career, if I'd come home and said, you know what, I had a bad day, um, and I don't even have to share details with her, but I had a bad day and I just need time to process with someone else, one of my coworkers. I need time to process by myself. Give me a couple hours. Like, that would have went such a long way with her. And eventually we got to that place when I was still working and her marriage was like, hey, I need a few hours. And she's like, okay. But that shut down the narrative. Like, he doesn't love me. He
Right.
won't talk to me.
And it's
It's like,
probably
yeah,
not just love. Did she probably feel like you didn't trust her?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and as a
absolutely.
spouse, that's a hurtful thing, right? That's what we have. The biggest thing we have is our trust and our love, and and I think I've talked to you about this about before. I don't remember who taught me this, but one of the things I wish I would have done during my career, and I like to teach people about it, is when you get home from work, you you don't have to tell your spouse everything right away. But I like the number system, either 0 to 5 or 0 to 10, where you can
Mm,
come home, walk in the door, give your spouse a hug, and say, "Hey, today was an 8 or a 9." And
mm,
then and let them know right away, or today was a 3, it was
yeah.
8 or 9, then go get out of your uniform, do your prayer, do your push-ups, go for your jog, whatever it may be, something healthy.
Mhm.
And then when you come back, then have a discussion about it. And again, you don't have to go into all the guts and glory, but let her know a little bit.
Yeah.
What would you say to that? And
Yeah, I think that's great.
everybody always asks me this, how much should I share with my spouse? Do you know the answer to that?
Uh, I would say as much, as she's comfortable with and that you're comfortable with. There is such a thing, and you probably know more about this than I do, but, like, secondary trauma. Um, and, I when I would share with my wife, I wouldn't share the details. If I was on the scene of a homicide or a suicide or, a bad car, I wouldn't share the gory details, but I would speak in generalities of just like, I was on the scene of this accident and it was not pretty. Like, the person was mangled and, like, I'm thinking about that. That's in my mind right now. And I don't like it and I need to process it. And I'm not going to share all the details with you. And, my wife was at the point she wouldn't pry for anything else. And I think that's a healthy place for spouses to be, is just like, hey, I'm here. Like, if you want to talk more about it, I'm here. But also, if there's a limitation, like, hey, I don't think I can take any more of, like, the details, like, but can I get you, can we get you to a counselor? Can we get you to peer support? Can we get you to 1042 project to talk to them? And knowing, again, limitations, but, as a first responder, I wouldn't share detail, like the gory details. I would just speak in generalities. And again, my wife was good with that. And, like, and it was healing to me to let her know what was going on in my brain.
Yeah, and most spouses don't wanna know the the nastiness of the job.
Yeah.
What they wanna know is, honestly, they wanna know more of the emotional side,
Yeah.
how you did. Like, "Hey, babe, I was in shock. I cried for a while. I mean, this kid was dead,
Yeah.
and I really struggled. It made me think about our own kids."
Yeah.
It's kinda stuff like that, not so much of which way the body was laying and that kinda stuff.
Yeah.
Most spouses don't care about that. They care more about the emotional side because I would say, this is coming to my head right now, I would say they're more worried about the state of mind that you're in and what they can do to help you with that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, most women connect on an emotional level. Men connect on a physical level, right? When we connect with our spouse, most men spell intimacy sex, right?
yep,
Sex is how we experience intimacy. With women, it's talking.
yep,
That's like, they get chemicals when they get in a deep, emotional, intimate conversation with someone, they get oxytocin released in the brain. Like, that is a bonding chemical that's released. And that's done through talking for them. So they do care about that emotion because they want to connect with you on an emotional level. And I'll tell you this too, for men who are first responders, and I am a walking testimony of this, we're really good at shutting down emotions on the job, right? We keep it together, we hold it together on the scene because we have to. We have to bring peace in the midst of chaos, and we can't be freaking out with everybody else that's freaking out. The problem with that is you really can't select which emotions you shut down
mm,
and which ones you turn back on. It's like all or nothing in a sense. And what I found was, like, I was shutting down even my good emotions like love and joy and happiness, and like, that was shutting down at home too. Like, I wasn't flipping anything back on when I got home, and therefore my wife wasn't connecting with me on an emotional level. So I think you're exactly right. Women want to connect with men on an emotional level because that's how they experience intimacy. And if we've experienced trauma and we're not able to process that and share things with our spouse, we're going to be missing an opportunity to connect with them on an emotional level, which is what they desire.
Yes. And even and that and trying to switch that switch on when you go home, it's not a switch that goes from 0 to 100 and you're right back to your normal self. It takes
Yeah.
time, and that's why there's tools and stuff that you can do to help decompress, get
Mm,
some of those, um I'm not a psychologist by any means. The endorphins or the cortisol, some of that stuff out of your body,
mm,
going for a run and stuff like that can get you to a calmer place. Prayer, obviously, get yourself
yeah.
to a calmer place to where that switch can be turned back on and turned back on in a healthy way. A lot of times we're trying to slam that switch up and down like our kids playing with the light switch up and down, and it doesn't work like that.
No.
But there are ways you can learn to get that switch turned back on in a healthy way. And when you
Yeah.
said
And,
that
go ahead.
I was just gonna say when you were talking about, turning off a switch to just one emotion, you can't turn it off to, you can't just turn it off to select emotions. Same thing with numbing in vices, with drinking and stuff like that. You can't just numb one of the emotions, right?
Mm,
You're numbing everything. You're numbing your joy. You're not just numbing your sadness. You're numbing your everything. And it's kind of the same thing. We can't selectively control what emotion, we have control over at that moment. It'd be cool if we did, but we don't.
yeah. Yeah, going back to your number system you're talking about, I think that's a great idea. And one of the things my wife and I tell new recruits in the law enforcement world is, process your day as you go home. So if you get off shift, get out of your uniform, process your day as you're driving home. Think about your shift, and then when you get to that halfway point, think about, okay, when I walk in the door, how am I going to greet my spouse? How am I going to greet my kids? And if you've had a bad day, technology is wonderful. Like you can text, voice to text. I'm not promoting texting while driving, but voice to text or a phone call to your spouse. Say, hey, like I had a really hard day at work today. Like I'm gonna come in. I just need some time. Can you just take the kids in the basement or get them in the backyard, play with them? Let me get in, get for a hot shower. Let me get in, get changed, go for a run, and come back home. I just can't. I just need some space, and then I think that'll help me be more present when I get home after my jog or my shower or whatever.
Yeah, and that's not disrespectful to her. That's an honest way where she knows that you're not avoiding her. It's not that you don't trust her. It's not that you don't
Yeah,
want to be around her. It's just you need a moment.
yeah.
And they
I think
understand
it's
that because
more
it comes back
respectful.
to and they understand that it comes back to communication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, man.
So let's get into what Impact Iowa's Heroes is doing and what they got coming up, because that's one of the big reasons I wanted to have you on. Because
Yeah.
so many of our listeners, so many of our first responders, their marriages are not doing well.
Hmm.
Like I said, they're becoming roommates. Of course, a lot of what things I hear from the guys is she doesn't want to have sex with me. She don't love me. Um,
Yeah,
and that gets back to we got to connect emotionally first. And
yeah,
as men, we have to learn how to communicate. We may not know how to communicate successfully with our wife, but
yeah,
again, we shouldn't. We don't inherently. We're not born with that downloaded in us. We're not a computer. But
yeah,
there's ways that you can learn to connect with your spouse emotionally. There's a way you
yeah,
can learn to process trauma with your spouse, not away from your spouse. There's a way you can bring her in or him in, regardless if you're male or female. Bring him in, her in, and allow her to be part of your healing journey. Um, because if you're intentional about including your spouse in your healing, um, a lot of times when you go through conflict, when you go through trauma, it can divide a couple,
hmm,
or it can bring them closer and closer than ever.
yeah,
But it doesn't grow closer and closer to together in those times if you're not intentional. It will go the opposite way, and it'll divide you. It will separate you. You will become numb to each other. But you can intentionally get yourself prepared to know how to be a healthy spouse. And that's what you guys focus on. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up your guys' website here, Aaron, if you don't mind. I'm going to
yeah,
share my screen. While I'm doing this, if you want to talk about, because you have two major events coming up, and
yeah,
if there's
yep.
more, let
We've
me
got,
know. But yep,
yep.
go and
Nope. We've
dive into
got
that.
one coming up immediately in June. June 28th in Newton at Newton Church of the Way. We're partnering with them, which I'm actually a pastor at that church as well. We are hosting a marriage conference there with Jeff and Shanti Feldhahn. And Jeff and Shanti, we had them last November at a marriage getaway event for first responders and military couples in West Des Moines. And they are amazing speakers and amazing researchers. I mean, they've done a lot of marriage research and have come up with tools and have identified things, the way that men and women are wired and how we can better connect with one another. And they are just an amazing couple that love Jesus and, want to see marriages strengthened. But yeah, June 28th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., we're going to be having that conference. And that conference is actually open to anyone, the whole general public. Anyone can come and be a part of that. The way Impact Iowa's Heroes is partnering is we are paying for half the registration fee for that event. So if you go into the registration for that, there's a discount code you can enter. And if you are active duty, retired, or military veteran, and in the first responder world, if you enter in the discount code HERO, HERO, that'll give you half off for that event. And that's just our way of saying thank you for your service, whether you have served or are currently serving. But we know, like, if you come to this event, you will be blessed by it. Like, again, it's that intentional time, like we talked about earlier, of just get out there and get with your spouse and work on each other.
Jeff and Shanti, you introduced them to me. They're writing a new book. I got to sit down with them and they interviewed me. We've since have a relationship now where we talk to each other, and they interviewed me on their podcast. And I'm telling you, they're some of the most loving, amazing people who have dedicated their whole life to healthy marriages. They live it out. They are so much fun. They're entertaining. Amazing stories. They've written, my gosh, Aaron, they've written, how many books do you even know?
Oh, I bet it's 7, 8, 10 books around there. They've just done a number. And actually, my wife and I are leading one of their books, a book study at our church. We've got, I think, 25 or 26 couples, but for men only, for women only. Listen, if you want to take your marriage from good to great, or even if you want to learn more about your spouse and you know nothing about them, read the books for men only and for women only. And it's amazing what you'll learn about yourself. Like, been married for 17 years, and I learned things about my wife, even like how women process emotions, how fast they process emotions compared to men. And it was just fascinating.
I love that. They're amazing people. Yeah. And I will tell you this. So one of my favorite books I like, and it's not from them, but theirs are great too. But just thinking out loud here, the Wild at Heart series by John Eldredge. That's for men. Well, his wife wrote one that's called Captivating, and it's for women. And my wife and I we've read the men's one, and she's read the women's one. I'm reading the women's one, she's reading the men's one, and we've had some of the best conversations because she's learning a lot about me, a lot about men, a lot about the stuff that God inherently put in us that sometimes the world tries to squash. So I would say that was Jeff and Shantae's book. I mean, would you agree that maybe read the wife ones too if you want to learn a little bit more about your wife?
So Jeff and Shanti actually gave Trish and I this advice, and we've passed it on to everyone we've talked to about those books. So there's the book for men only, but what you need to do is you need to read, as a man, the for women only book first, because it's about men. And men, when you go through that book for them, you highlight what applies to you and you bracket what doesn't apply to you. And so, because I mean, not everything they write about applies to me. Like it's generalities, like 70 to 80% of men think this way or, feel this way. Well, I don't feel that way, so I bracket it, or I do feel that way, so I highlight it. And then when my wife goes to read the book for women only, she sees, oh, wow, that applies to Aaron. I didn't know that. Or, it's good to know that this doesn't apply to Erin, and she did the same thing for me for men only. We went on vacation last December, and first time we've done that without kids in a long time, but we wanted to take intentional time just to focus on each other. And we went through those books and we did that exact thing. And it was just so much fun on that vacation to learn about each other. And so, yeah, highly recommend reading the book Meant for the Other and saying this applies to me and this doesn't.
Yeah, so you guys listening, I'm telling you, do not miss out on this opportunity. Take time, and I know there's a million excuses in the world why you can't be there. Invest in your marriage.
Yeah.
I promise you, you'll be entertained. You will have, there will be joy. You will learn. It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a powerful thing. I
Yeah.
wish I could be at that one, but my son is getting married that day, Aaron. I can't believe I got a kid getting married already.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You know, you and I were in high school at the same time, and to think that I got one
We're
getting
old.
married. It's man, I'm telling you, these gray hairs coming quick.
Yeah, man.
So this one again, so this one is for first responder militaries, but it's also for anybody outside of that if they want to come. Because I know I don't know if all your events are like that, but this
No,
one is open.
typically, most of our events are just for active duty, first responder, and military couples. But we felt like, last year we put on our first event for veterans and retired first responders. But we feel like we're good at hosting conferences. That's one of our giftings, or one of the things we've become proficient at. And we're like, you know what? Why not impact as many marriages as possible? Yeah, we have our mission field and our lane that we try to stay in, but let's impact as many marriages as possible. And it helps civilians or people outside of our first responder world know that we exist. So if they have a neighbor or a family member that's struggling in their marriage, they can say,
Yes,
hey, well, we went to a conference, put on by this organization that's there for you. Why don't you go check them out? And so, yeah, part of
I
the reason
love
we're
that.
doing this is for more exposure.
So for those of you listening on YouTube, you can look at the screen here. I've got it pulled up. You can see the flyer that's been made with Jeff and Shante. There's a QR code. I'm going to scroll down here a little bit more. You'll be able to see there's a register now button on the Impact iOS Heroes website. Click on that, and that's where you can type in your registration, and Aaron and his team will get that.
Yep.
And you will be ready for a powerful day of sharpening your marriage.
Yeah, man.
So we got about 8 minutes left here. Let's dive into your yearly big event, the larger
Yeah.
one, the one where you really bring people in and allow them to get away from their kids in Jesus'
Yeah.
name.
Yeah. Yeah. So we, every November, every fall, we host an annual marriage getaway event for active duty first responder and military couples. The last, I think, 3 events we've had have been at Valley Church in West Des Moines. A shout out to them. They've allowed us to use their space at no cost. And so what a blessing that is to our organization to be able to host it there. We bring you in on a Friday night. On that Friday night, we feed you a dinner. We cater in a dinner from Litterdale, where we have tables and chairs set up where you can sit with friends, other first responder couples or military couples, and just interact, have fellowship with them. And then after dinner, we go into an honoring ceremony where we actually take the time to recognize and honor line of duty deaths from the previous year. And every year we've had to honor families and agencies, but this year we don't have any line of duty deaths. What a good thing, right?
Praise God.
What a blessing that we didn't have any line of duty deaths over the past year. And so,
Especially for the amount of shootings we had.
yeah, exactly. Not to say that, others didn't pass away from an illness or, other circumstances. So we will take a time to just remember everyone who served. But we're not going to have any families or agencies on the stage. And so I think what we'll do maybe this year, and we're still in the planning stages, we might do just a first session where Trish and I will incorporate some marriage strengthening early on and get things flowing early. But we're also we're gonna, on Friday night, we're gonna take some time to have some fun. We usually bring in a comedian we're kind of flirting with the idea of maybe doing some sort of newlywed game show or something, not necessarily newlywed, but,
I
have a
love
little
that.
competition between fire, police, and military, and each organization will have a representation on stage. But we'll also take the time to honor you guys currently serving. We usually do a challenge coin every year, just to give you guys. And last year we gave out some Christmas ornaments to women, to hang on their Christmas tree, just to remember the time that you get to come in and just be blessed. And so that's Friday night. And then at the end of the Friday night, we send everybody off to either their hotels, or we've rented out Smash Park in the past, and couples have gone over there and just had continued fellowship of just hanging out, getting food together. They have all kinds of games you can play over there. Even pickleball, if you want to, bring your shorts and a t-shirt and play some pickleball. But
I'll wreck
just
you, bro. I'll wreck you in pickleball.
yeah, I'm not great at pickleball.
I'm not either.
But yeah, just a time for fellowship. And then we get you a hotel room. So there is I think it's a $50 registration fee for the whole weekend. We have food, drink the whole weekend. We feed you. We bring in marriage coaching, like I said, entertainment. And then your hotel room's paid for by us as well, and that registration fee. And so, yeah. And then Saturday you come back, and we're bringing in Gary Thomas, who wrote the book Sacred Marriage. And he's also written a book recently called Making Your Marriage a Fortress. And he's going to be teaching on that. And we're so excited to bring him in, and have him lead our couples throughout the weekend for marriage strengthening. So
I'm looking through your guys' website. Y'all have been at this for a while. I'm going clear back to 2017. If you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing what I'm going through. If you're on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, you can go to their website and see this. Every year when I'm scrolling through these pictures, man, there is laughter. I mean, some people are laughing so hard they're crying. There's people. I mean, it's joy. It's happiness. It's not darkness. It's not argument. I mean, this is. If you look through these clips, you can't help but smile, Aaron. What an environment to bring people in, to get them out of what I call the cycle of suck, and to be around like-minded couples. And there's power in that. There's power in being able to meet people who inherently understand you and the struggles, who don't need to ask you all the silly questions. They can just give you a hug and say, "Hey, I'm sorry you're going through that. I know what that's like. I'll be praying for you." What a powerful thing, man. This looks, I mean,
it's so much
get a
fun.
chance. Yeah, get a chance. Go to the website, look, and they have if you click on the learn more, I'm assuming this is where you can register.
Yep.
Yep.
At least, yeah, it should be. There you go. One of the things we hear commonly, so we send out a survey at the end of every event, and ever since I've been involved, 100% of people that take that survey say their marriage has been strengthened, and 100% of the people that came said they would come again. And so you're right. It's like-minded people. It's people all different stages in their marriage, right? We get feedback that my marriage was saved because of this event, or my marriage was in a good place, but now it's in a great place. And so it's just, but again, people that understand you, that get you, that have been where you've been, and it's just joyful, and a way to connect with your spouse, that deliberate, intentional time to connect with your spouse. And it's just such a good weekend. My wife came away from that event feeling like, we were so blessed, and we felt honored too. And we've had spouses come up to us that have said, this is the first time I've ever been recognized for being a spouse, with tears in their eyes, saying, we felt honored. Thank you.
And they felt heard. Heard.
Yeah.
What
so
a
let us
great
bless
feeling.
you. Let us bless you.
Yes, this is, you guys, this is amazing. What you get when you get to go to this. Go to the website, impactiowasheroes.org. There's a registration button. You can get your tickets. Like Aaron said, this is room. Once you pay Aaron, that's room and board and food. And
again, we feed you. We give you swag. We give you, giveaways. We give you resource that, like, we take care of you. I think we invest $600 to $700 per couple that come in there.
Praise God. What a great investment. You are restoring lives, you're restoring marriages. Um, and men, that's right, men, listen, you can restore your intimacy in your marriage too.
Yeah.
Things like this help to connect with our wives in a new way. I'm not saying do it because of that, but what I'm saying is the fruits of feeding into your marriage, to humbling yourself, to sit with your wife and your arm around her and listening to some amazing teachers. Good things come out of that. And a lot of the things that you men complain to me about, this is a good way that you can allow you and your wife to learn and grow together. And Aaron, I can't thank you enough for doing this, for running your organization. I've known you for a long time. I know how passionate you and your wife both are about this. Um, thank you. And is there any last words that you would like to say to our first responders that may be like, I still feel a little too scared to go there?
Yeah, I had a first responder, a man, reach out to me, a law enforcement officer, recently about getting involved in a marriage class, and they weren't comfortable. And I said, listen, dude, it's just like working out. The only way you make gains is you get uncomfortable. You have to push through uh, the uncomfortableness, the hurt, the pain, and you know what? But that's where you experience growth. And so for men, going to a marriage conference, reaching out for help, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, but when you push through it, man, the things that you gain on the backside of it are so worth it. And do it. Do it. I can't just stress it enough. Do it, and you'll have every excuse of things you got going on. But I have yet to say someone to say to me, this was a complete waste of my time to invest time and energy into my marriage. You just don't hear it. So do it and you'll be blessed.
And you guys heard me say this before. It may be uncomfortable to go there because it can, it won't be once you get there. But the uncomfortableness of not doing stuff like this is a heck of a lot worse. So you may need to get uncomfortable because on the other side of uncomfortable is growth.
Mm,
But let's let that uncomfortableness be to something that leads to life and not to divorce.
yeah.
Because it's going to be uncomfortable either way.
Yeah.
We have to invest time in this, and it's only it's only uncomfortable the first time is what I've noticed when you go to things like this.
Yeah.
The enemy lies to you. The fear is fake. You get in there, you feel the love, you feel the joy, you feel the restoration.
Yeah, man.
Aaron, thank you. I'm just gonna say a quick prayer before you leave. I
Yeah.
just feel called
Please.
to pray for our married couples, our first responders. So,
Mm,
dear Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for our listeners. We thank you for our heroes. We thank you for their spouses because they are heroes as well. We thank you for their family. God, you're such a God of restoration, a God of healing, a God of relationship. And we just pray a blessing over all of our first responders and our listeners, God. We just ask you bring your peace beyond all understanding.
mm,
God, tear down those hardened walls, those hardened hearts that have been built over year after year, God. Break those walls down.
mm,
Bring in new peace, new love, new understanding. God, allow their hurt to be turned into purpose. God, we just ask for healing over them, a blessing over them, a restoration over their marriage, a restoring of their love. God, to remove them from the roommate phase and back to the
mm,
relationship phase.
mhm.
Holy Spirit, we just ask you to move, do what you do. We thank you for every listener and every first responder in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Keep up the good work. And I will see you at the fall retreat because we will be
Yeah.
at that one.
Right
All
on.
right, man. Love you, buddy. Take care.
Love you too. See ya.